All right. Good morning, good afternoon, depending upon where you're joining us from. I'm Deja, and I'm here with Dr. Peter Kanaris. Dr. Peter, how are you doing today?
Very well, Deja.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us and participating as a new speaker this year with SASH and the conference Conversations from the Couch. Dr. Kanaris will be presenting on Friday, October 16th, actually directly after Mr. Bill Herring, who we interviewed earlier last week, between 2 and 3:30. And he's going to be talking about cyber infidelity, a treatment model for the great challenge to contemporary relationships. Wonderful. Dr. Kanaris, would you love to tell us more about that?
Well, I certainly would, Deja. First, about myself. I'm a psychologist and sex therapist with many years of experience in the field. And over the course of my career, I've been able to I've worked a great deal with issues of infidelity. And I've seen really what I call the evolution of infidelity, because if you go back, despite my remarkable youth, I have been around a long time, and I'm able to remember pre-internet infidelity. And in those days, infidelity was largely people, meeting in a gym or in the office or in in-person locations that would then serve as the beginning of an infidelity type relationship. Well, with the advent of the internet, and then in particularly the smartphone, it has made infidelity, like so many other things, truly an electronic process. It's one that the analogy that I often give is that it's a lot like how bullying has changed. A kid in the old days would go to school and get bullied, teased, or beat up in the schoolyard or the cafeteria, where now bullying occurs in the child's bedroom. It comes to you via social media, technology, etc. And we find a similar phenomena with cheating and unfaithful kinds of behaviors. And I thought that it required a very different model from the traditional way of looking at infidelity.
That's really interesting that you say that. I think you're absolutely correct. The way that the cyber world, I guess, as we're saying now, the Twitter fingers, can really do. We've seen the extent of the damage they can cause and the repercussions they have, just in reputation. Like you said, infidelity, bullying, it's gotten pretty extensive, almost so it seems kind of out of control. But I think this is a start to learning more about it and trying to get ahead of it as opposed to playing catch up with the problem.
Yes.
So yeah, most definitely. Well, why would you think that? What would you hope that participants take away the most from this presentation, other than obviously its importance?
Well, my hope is that it's one thing to understand the nature of a problem, and as a therapist, it's something else to be armed with a model that is effective for the treatment of that problem. So my hope is that people that attend my workshop will have an understanding of what I call the collaborative model of dealing with infidelity, where basically therapists will know what to look for and what to do when a couple or an individual comes in that has been affected by infidelity. And in particular, when infidelity is accompanied by out of control sexual behaviors, because very often that's a driver of the, so to be able to incorporate systems of treatment for out of control sexual behavior with the issue of infidelity. The uniqueness of this model is that, as so many people know, there have been many models that have developed that address the individual needs of a person who's dealing with sexual addiction or out of control sexual behavior. But to my knowledge, this is a unique model that incorporates the couple, the partner, that deals not separately, but conjointly with the needs of both people within the context of their relationship, with the goal of not only salvaging the relationship, but moving forward in a way to see if it can't be enhanced, if they can't come out of this crisis with all its related trauma actually in better shape.
Right. Yes. Thank you, Dr. Kanaris.
My
We
pleasure.
are excited for this. This is yet again an additional, roundtable discussion to where I think that the fact that our virtual world has become so mass and so uncensored, pretty much, basically,
Yes.
it provides a level of invincibility when you're doing things that you normally wouldn't do in public. Who would want, who would want that to come about? But
Well, Deja, what I would say about that, that's so right on and relevant about what you're saying, is that we normally will think where infidelity has occurred that, well, it must be because this is a relationship that's deeply flawed, and that
right.
there might be pathologies, there might be, as I said, serious flaws within the relationship, and that's the
Mhm.
problem. Certainly, that can be the case. Often it is. Often it isn't,
Right.
because of this technological age. It's almost like, again, to give another analogy, would be a person could commit a crime because their intention is to commit a crime, or they
Mhm.
could be set up, say, by a sting,
Yeah.
a police thing, and now they might commit a crime that without that setup, they never would have been inclined to commit it. And
Right.
that's, by analogy, that's what happens with technology.
Yep.
Technology, we don't have to go after something, it comes at us. It
Yes.
comes
Oh my
at us.
goodness.
And that
Yes.
can, and the results of that can wind up damaging what was otherwise a healthy and very good relationship. But it
Yeah.
requires, as I say, a unique treatment model in order to address that appropriately.
Right. It's almost as if we should have put an age limit on use of the internet a long time ago.
Yeah, well, I think that's not happening anytime soon.
Nope. Awesome. But so with it being your first year speaking with us, has there been any other presentations or anything about your own presentation that you're particularly excited about experiencing this year?
Well, I really am. And it's interesting because, in all honesty, this will be a new experience for me. I have
Mhm.
a very extensive background with giving live presentations to audiences where human beings are actually in the same room, and we look at each other and talk to each other. And,
Right?
I've been,
The good old
I've given,
days.
exactly, exactly. This is probably closer to. I also have an extensive history of giving interviews to the media. Whether it's TV, radio, internet, all of that. And this is a little bit closer to that, I think, where typically the person's not in the same room as you. So this
Yeah.
will, the old Zoom presentation type thing. That will be a little bit different for me. And but I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome. Do you anticipate any differences as far as like this being a mass audience of people, or same sentiment, like not much has changed?
Well, my hope is that there'll be some opportunity for Q&A and for people to get questions answered.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is, in an hour and a half presentation, what this will be will really be more an introduction and an exposure to this model that I have of treating issues of infidelity or cyber infidelity, if you will. All right. And I'm hoping that there's some opportunity for sort of interaction and the answering of questions as well. But at the very least, I hope there will be that initial exposure that can whet the appetite and get people, interested in the topic and looking for further training.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that, yeah, that's one of the things about this whole Zoom meeting for everything, that yes, you can raise your hand and yes, you can type in the chat, but it's not the same as standing in line and waiting for your turn on the microphone.
No,
So
no,
that
no.
will be
Well,
something to look forward to.
but that being said, Deja, what I have found certainly in the treatment that I've done, and again, as it implies, a great deal of the treatment that I do is multi-person. There are at least two
Right.
people that I'm dealing with, via teletherapy, I have been so pleased as to how effective it is, how good it is. And again, prior to the pandemic, I had never done a teletherapy session. It was all in office, all person to person. So I was skeptical and not really sure, how it would work. But I found it to be, dare I say, just as effective as being in the office. You lose some of
Yeah.
what you would hope for, but
Yeah.
generally speaking, I'm getting that feedback from patients.
That's great. No, that's a wonderful response. I know that I think I personally anticipated there being a lot more interpersonal conflict with the use of technology and telehealth for certain age groups or certain demographics, given like their accessibility to certain things.
Yes.
But overall, everyone almost seems comfortable being able to communicate this way. It's like we were all like maybe secretly so introverted
Yes.
that the thought of just having to schedule so many and see so many people physically is daunting. But the fact that we're able to do it in one space in a matter of minutes is somehow easier on the mind. So
Indeed.
but we're here
Indeed.
for it.
Yeah. And I as I said, I was surprised by it, by how well it works.
Yeah, right. Normal technical difficulties, but
Yes. Yes.
awesome. Well,
Yes.
thank you so much, Dr. Kanaris, for joining us today, as I said, and we look forward to your presentation on October 16th between 2 and 3:30 on confidentiality, a treatment model for the great challenge to contemporary relationships. Thank you. Oh, sorry,
Well,
cyber
well,
infidelity.
cyber infidelity. In that
Yeah.
regard, too, if people would want to find more information, about me or this topic, okay, my website, cyberinfidelityhelp.com, has a treasure trove of information there. If people are wondering whether or not the workshop is worth seeing, I think going to that address, cyberinfidelityhelp.com, should answer any questions in that regard.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Kanaris. Again, we truly appreciate it.
Thank you, Deja.